Lately, I've noticed a big increase in comments from you all on my channel asking about content ideas. How do I come up with content ideas? Where do I find content ideas? How do I make sure that I don't run out? I'm so glad you asked, and today I'm going to help you become a content idea machine and walk you through my 4-step process for generating a mega list of content ideas that you can repeat as much as you need to. As you may know, I've been a digital content creator for over a decade now, and I have yet to run out of ideas because of this process that I'm going to walk you through today. Very quickly, before we jump in, I just want to remind you, if you have not yet grabbed your free copy of the Influencer Launchpad, your guide to building a profitable creator business, be sure to download it now from the link down below in the description box. So let's get started and walk through my 4 steps for coming up with content ideas. Now, for each of these 4 steps, I want you to make sure that you are writing down every single idea that you come up with, and you can organize this however you'd like to. You might want to make a page in your Notion. You might want to do a Google Doc or spreadsheet. Doesn't matter what your preferred method of doing this is, just matters that you have a place where you can write down every single idea that you come up with. After we walk through these steps, I'm going to teach you how to go through your list and prioritize, so make sure you watch all the way through to the end. Step number 1 is one of my favorite ways to come up with content ideas, and that is simply to have a good old-fashioned brainstorming session. Now, the key to a good brainstorm, I think, is to not let it drag out too long. I think sometimes people get overwhelmed by the idea of a brainstorming session, but we're keeping you on a tight schedule here. So set a timer for 5 minutes on your phone, in your kitchen, whatever the case is, and really make sure those 5 minutes are fully focused, where you are just starting to write down any idea that you can think of. Now, these ideas don't even need to fully make sense right now. You might just write down something like red outfit. What's a red outfit? I don't know. We'll come back to that later. But just start to think of any keywords within your niche, any content that you just off the top of your head feel like might be good for your audience. And you can do this for any period of time. You might be brainstorming just for the next month. You might want to think ahead for the whole calendar year. It's really up to you, but set the timer for 5 minutes and just do a big brain dump / brainstorm for an initial batch of ideas that come from you. You can even challenge yourself to think, what piece of content would I produce if I had like the whole day to dedicate to it? Or what's a piece of content I could produce in less than 5 minutes? So challenge yourself to think creatively and give yourself some ideas to start out with. Okay, step number 2 is to focus on seasonality. And what do I mean when I say seasonality? I am talking about what is going on in the creator world right now, in your audience's world right now, or just in the world at large right now that feels specific to this moment and this time. So start out first by thinking about the seasons. As I'm filming this, we have just entered fall, so if you are a beauty content creator, maybe you're creating latte makeup or giving your audience tips to transition their makeup bags from summer to fall. If you're a food content creator, maybe this is the time that you start sharing more recipes with squash or prepping for Thanksgiving content. Not to mention, there are obviously holidays to think about. So for fall, you've got, Halloween, Thanksgiving, it's the lead up to the holiday season. And there are all these like national holidays now that, at least here in the US, we've come up with. So I have a couple on my desktop wallpaper. This is actually from my Patreon. So just to give you a few from the beginning of October, we had International Coffee Day, we had Mean Girls Day, we had Bookshop Day, we just had World Mental Health Day. So all of these holidays, whether or not you think they're real, whether or not you choose to actively celebrate them, they can be a great jumping off point. World Mental Health Day, is there something you can talk about related to your mental health that maybe you haven't shared yet? That's a great day to do it if you are stumped for content ideas. And I do want to pause and plug my Patreon very quickly, because in addition to that monthly desktop wallpaper where I list out all of the holidays for that month, I also, in the $3 tier, share 25 content ideas at the top of every month. So if you post most days, maybe you skip Sundays, that could be your full month of content ideas. It's a super affordable way to outsource part of the ideation process. So I will leave a link to my Patreon down below if you're interested in learning more or checking it out. And then in addition to the seasons that you're in or any calendar holidays, don't forget about sales or other big holidays that might be relevant to your audience. I'm talking about things like Prime Day. We're talking about the Sephora sale, anything where your audience might want help, curated recommendations, or just a quick list of what to buy to speed up their process, make their lives easier. That's a great opportunity for you to create some very product-focused affiliate content. So just do a quick Google search, like when is Prime Day, when is Sephora sale, and make note of those dates on your calendar and use them to come up with even more ideas to add to your list. That brings us to step number 3, and we're gonna look inward for step number 3, and I call this your internal content ideas. Sometimes as content creators, I think we feel the pressure to always be coming up with brand new, fresh ideas. And the reality is we don't always need to reinvent the wheel when it comes to the content we create. Some of my favorite pieces of content that I've ever created are ideas that I've gotten after going through and auditing my own content across platforms. So you can do this for as many of your platforms as you want. Maybe you have a blog or a YouTube channel, or you just want to focus on Instagram. Go through and make note of what are your top performing content pieces from, you can pick the time frame, the last 30 days, the last 6 months, the last year, and make note of those top content pieces that either got the most engagement, views. You can pick a metric to measure your success by and start to use this as an initial list that we're going to grow. Let's say that you went through your blog and you found your top 5 posts from the last 6 months. Now, obviously, I don't expect you to just fully recreate the exact same topic word for any reason, although as we've seen on Instagram and TikTok, sometimes reposting popular content can be successful. But for purposes of our idea generation, what you can do is take those top 5 blog posts and challenge yourself for each one of those successful pieces of content. What are 5 spin-off ideas that you can come up with? I was kind of doing this for my Instagram the other day, and I noticed that one of my most popular reels from the last few months was my reel where I showed how I created my own version of Jeopardy to play at my bachelorette weekend before my wedding. That reel got over 100,000 views, and I ended up making a second reel replying to a comment where I shared the questions that I actually used within the game. The first video was more how I created the game physically, and then the second video was but what were the questions? So that was kind of a spin-off of this already successful video. And if I wanted to do some other similar ideas, maybe I would think about doing a video with my bachelorette packing list, or what was our NYC bachelorette weekend itinerary. So for each one of your successful pieces of content, try to come up with 5 spin-off or related ideas to that piece of content. If you do that for 5 posts, then you're gonna have 25 ideas that you've already seen be successful with the content that you've shared, but that give you an opportunity to look at things from a different angle or provide a new perspective. And that brings us to step 4, which is to think about external content trends and finding topics that maybe you haven't tried yet, but people similar to you or in a related niche have already created content about. So I'm going to share my screen and walk you through exactly how I do this with 3 different softwares online. So the first place that I recommend looking for external content ideas is on Google Trends and Pinterest Trends. So I'm going to show you both. Here on Google Trends, what you can do is type in any keyword to see how it's currently trending and any related searches. So you might think about your niche. If your niche is makeup, that might be a little bit broad. So maybe you want to look for something like wedding makeup, and you'll see suggestions in the drop down here, just as you would in a regular Google search. And you can also compare this to other search terms. You can change to see the interest over time. If we look at the dates here, September 23rd was a Saturday, September 30th was a Saturday. So these searches for wedding makeup tend to spike on weekends because that's probably when people are looking for wedding makeup tutorials and ideas if they're attending weddings. And then down below here, you can also see related topics. You can sort these by rising or top topics. So you can see maybe wedding guest curly hairstyle could be something you could do. Wedding makeup inspired by my big fat Greek wedding. And then over here on related queries, you can see when searches are up for particular topics. And we actually have a breakout topic here, wedding guest makeup looks. So if you're a beauty content creator, this would be a really good topic for you to target, not just because it is relevant to your niche, but because people are actively looking for it. Now let's hop over to Pinterest trends. So if you are a Pinterest creator, you might start seeing these pop-ups on this webpage, which is just trends.pinterest.com, telling you how you can kind of take your own pins and create more pins like that based on current searches. So Ugg slippers looking popular in women's shoes. Over here, fall things to do, autumn scenery. And if you scroll down, you can also see these growing trends your audience loves. Now, I think this is a great place to get content ideas. So as you guys can see, bachelorette party games is really popular here. And I shared one of my bachelorette party games on Pinterest. So I think that's why it's suggesting that to me. And you can sort over here by all interests or whatever niche you create content for on Pinterest. I'll leave it broad for right now. You can see Halloween costumes, fall outfits, fall recipes, YouTube for beginners, Halloween hair and makeup, autumn outfit. So this is just the tip of the iceberg. And if you want to scroll down even further, I believe mine is set to the US just because I live here, but I think you can look for other countries as well. See the weekly change and monthly change of how many more searches these topics are getting right now compared to this time last year. And Pinterest is a very seasonal platform, so this is really good to pay attention to. People are looking for Halloween nail inspo, homecoming hairstyles, pumpkin recipes. So you can see the seasonal impact here on Pinterest, and you can see when, things kind of start to spike and then when they start to drop off. And as you can see when I'm filming this up here, this is Tuesday, October 10th, and we're already starting to see a little bit of a drop off from fall and heading into holiday. So keep that in mind when you're creating as well. I know we talked about that with the seasonal topics, but just think about when the season is coming to an end for people searching for things and when people are kind of interested in starting to plan for what's coming next. So this should give you a huge list of ideas to pull from, whatever your niche is on Pinterest. And you can also type in anything here, again, to kind of start to see what's trending, what's maybe dropping off, what you could be creating content about to confirm that people are looking for these keywords. Now, the next tool I want to talk to you about is Answer the Public. So we can go ahead and search together. I must have at some point searched fashion trends here, so let's plug that in and see what we get from it. Okay, so Answer the Public, I know it's changed recently. Right now it says you're using a public version of Answer the Public with one free search available. You can register to get 3 searches daily and see all of your previous searches, or you could potentially pay for it if you find this helpful. Now, this is really interesting where I think Neil Patel bought this at some point. So he's giving you the search volume for the keyword here. You can see it's good, just meaning a lot of people are searching for it. And what I like about Answer the Public is it gives you this kind of graph down here where you can see like so many different iterations of fashion trends, right? It talks about fashion trends with the word can, right? Like, do fashion trends repeat themselves? Can they come and go? All of that kind of stuff. Then there's the how questions. How do trends start? How do trends affect society? Like, super interesting. This is a really great way. And you could obviously kind of do this on your own. You could take any kind of keyword and ask yourself like who, what, when, where, why. But I find this visual really helpful. And this is a quick way to get a ton of content ideas. If you only have one search a day on Answer the Public, I would say go a little more broad. Fashion trends is pretty broad. It talks about fashion, but it still leaves the door open, and see what you come up with. I also love the who questions here, like who to follow for fashion trends, who influences fashion trends, who decides fashion trends, like so many different ways of looking at the same topic. So that is what this is really incredible for. And then if you scroll down, it also, adds in prepositions in addition to the who, what, when, where, why. So you can see, fashion trends with Gen Z,
fashion trends to come back, fashion trends to avoid. So this is a really great system for taking an idea and extending it far beyond just that one idea that you had. Now, the last thing I want to walk you through is how I have used ChatGPT to help me come up with ideas. And for purposes of this video, just to speed things up, I've already gone ahead and given it some prompts. So I'm going to walk you through what I asked it. So the first thing I asked it was, please give me 10 content ideas for YouTube videos. I put my channel name in here just in case it scans and pulls like just what my channel's about from the internet. I just said tips for micro influencers and content creators who are hoping to turn their side hustles into full-time job and businesses. So ChatGPT actually went in and kind of gave me like a title and then a 1-sentence description for each video. So that's pretty helpful. Looking at this list, there are some videos on here that I have created already, so I'm going to save them all for now as discussed at the beginning of this video. I want to just create this mega list first, and then I'm going to go through it and show you how to go through it later. But looking through these ideas, they're pretty on target with what I asked for. So then once you get a list like this, another way you could kind of zone in even more is I said, can you take idea number 3, how to negotiate sponsorships and collaborations, and give me 5 more ideas related to that topic? Because I already know that's a video that I've made before. So like, what are some maybe other ways to go about that? And then this list came next. So this was interesting, like mastering the art of cold pitching to brands. I really haven't done a video about that. I don't always advise cold pitching, but if you are going to cold pitch, like what would you do? So that's kind of interesting. Same thing with something like this, collaboration versus sponsorship, like what's the difference? Possibly there is no difference, or we could go through and kind of just talk about the different types of brand partnerships that there are. So this was the next batch of ideas. And then I kind of decided to take that and say a little bit more forward thinking, what about like as we look ahead to 2024, what are some ideas? So then ChatGPT came back with, this was so interesting. I don't think this is their acronym, SMART goals, specific, measurable. That sounds like a business school term to me, but like, again, maybe that's something I could incorporate in a video. I don't think I've done something like that before. Creating a content calendar for 2024, diversifying income streams. So I mean, I just got 20 ideas just from giving ChatGPT these 3 prompts, and I think they're all really well aligned with my content. And obviously, when we go through our list, we'll make modifications about things that I've done already and things like that. But even just having this batch of ideas in front of me gives me a great jumping off point from looking externally and asking just these questions of like, what could I be creating next?
Now, to review the 4 steps we just talked about, first, you're going to do a 5-minute brainstorm or brain dump. Then you're going to go through and think seasonally, what holidays or sales or calendar dates are coming up that can drive content ideas. You're also going to look internally at your content creation and see if you can come up with related ideas to successful content. And you're going to look outward, think about topics that you normally create content about, and see what other ideas people are actively searching for. And don't forget to repeat this process if you have any accounts that are kind of in different niches. For example, my YouTube channel here is very focused on content creation tips and life as a micro influencer, whereas my Instagram and TikTok are leaning more lifestyle-y, fashion and beauty, so I might have some different ideas for my different platforms. So now that you've gone through these steps and you have this mega list of content ideas, it's time to ensure that we are validating these content ideas. And this step is really important and should not be skipped because, again, there's a chance that maybe you wrote down an idea for something that you've done already and you want to challenge yourself to come up with something slightly differently. So here are a few questions that you can ask yourself to validate your content ideas on your list. I think the first and most important question to ask is, does this content idea align with my audience, my content pillars, and what I want to be known for? If you need a refresher on content pillars, there's a whole page dedicated to it inside of the Influencer Launchpad, so don't forget to download that and read through it so you fully understand that. Basically, we just want to make sure, is this a video that makes sense for you to create and something that you think your audience would enjoy watching? The next question you can ask is, have I created content about this topic before? And the answer can be yes, and it might be time for you to do an update or share a new perspective that you have, or let us know if your opinion has changed entirely. I've had to do that a couple of times on my YouTube channel because this content is evergreen and searchable. So someone could still be watching a video of mine from 2019 about something that maybe I've changed my mind on in 2023. So that's an opportunity for me to do an update, to share my new opinions, new perspectives, or new insights that I've learned since the initial publication of that kind of video. It's also possible that even if you've done that content idea before, you turn it into a series. You know, maybe it's like a Makeup Monday or a Foodie Friday or something like that, where people know to expect that content from you each day or each week, and that gives them a reason to keep coming back for more. So repeating topics is not off the table. Just ask yourself if it can maybe be part of a recurring series, and also if you have anything new or updated to say about that topic. And then the next question to ask yourself is, are people actively searching for information on this topic and showing interest in it? Because you want to make sure you're creating content that people want to see. The good news is you've kind of already done this for your external content ideas, because you've seen on Google Trends what's trending right now, and on Answer the Public what people are searching for. So just go back and kind of apply that same question to the first three sections to make sure that all of your content ideas feel relevant and feel very now, and like they'll actually help your audience. So those key three questions should help you kind of narrow down and focus in on your ideas, and maybe just help you prioritize the order that you want to go about actually creating some of these content pieces in. But I will say, keep this mega list on hand to refer back to. And maybe the first thing you want to do is go through the list and plan out the next 8 weeks. And then after that, you can come back to the list, and maybe you'll have had other ideas by that point, or you'll say, you know, this one that I was going to do, I don't really think I should, because now this other piece of content has taken off. So I kind of like planning in more of a tight kind of time frame to give myself a chance to see how the content is doing and react accordingly to it. It also might be helpful to prioritize anything kind of with a sense of urgency. So if I wanted to write a blog post about Thanksgiving outfit, it's mid-October when I'm filming this, so I should get on that right now so that when people are actually searching for Thanksgiving outfits, they have my blog post to refer back to. But if I wanted to do a blog post about the best snow boots, I have a little more time to put that together. I really hope you all found this helpful. If you have any other questions about coming up with content ideas, please leave me a comment down below and let me know, or let me know if you've tried this process and found success through it. I would really love to hear from you about what's working. If you found today's video helpful, please do consider subscribing to my YouTube channel for new videos every week. When you subscribe, that helps YouTube see that people are watching and loving my content and helps me reach more creators. So I really appreciate everyone who's subscribed so far. And if you're interested in learning the 3 major types of content that you can create as an influencer, you're definitely going to want to check out that up next recommendation on the screen. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.